Hi, this is Michael Carbajal, and you're watching True School Sports. Take care. Good night.
Anyone without an agenda, anyway, was saying that fucking years ago. Yeah, they it's not just down to who has the roughest background or whatever, but when you have a rough background that kind of builds a fighter's mentality, a fighter's mind, and then mix that with top of the line trainers, that's a recipe for success in boxing, man.
No, that it is. We got the Brotherhood. Who's the Brotherhood?
I got a boxing channel myself, man.
Oh,
I'm
what's
just
up?
wondering.
So
I'm just wondering, bro. What the hell? Why do y'all have a problem with the PBC? They've been giving the boxing world great content for free at that.
well, first of all, it's not for free. If you don't pay your fucking cable bill, you ain't getting PBC.
Well, a lot of it is. A lot of it is.
What did I say? I mean, yeah, that's cool. I wish they would, and this goes for all the guys, any of the promotional office, equally, they need to work together. There's only so many, matches they can make with inside of that one stable. He keeps his fighters. I mean, I don't know. You're trying to make me defend a point that I'm not really arguing for, but they should.
Well, I'm not making you defend a point, but it seems like both of y'all have nothing good to say about the PBC, which is why I asked. I don't think they deserve the hatred.
Let me ask you, what did we say that you're specifically?
Yeah, is there anything specific?
It ain't about what y'all said. I'm saying you guys don't have anything good to say. It's not something you said specifically. It's everything is negative.
That's false, because we have both promoted and bragged and clapped and cheered for many of the fights.
I mean, I thought Pacquiao was a pretty damn good fight.
Spence,
I had no problem with that.
Tremendous.
You can name about 20 more good fights they put on.
Yeah, and anytime they do, we definitely say they're good fights.
Yeah, like I don't know. I've been live for a lot of PBC's fights and their fight cards, and if they put on a good fight card when I'm live, I have no problem saying that it's a good card. I don't have any vested interest in Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum or any of them. I just think if you want to go by this year's fight cards, PBC, and I'm talking about PBC alone fight cards. PBC hasn't put up any good fight cards this year, not one. You can't really count.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Are you serious?
Name one.
Keith Thurman versus Manny Pacquiao, first of all.
That was
Charlo versus Harrison. Charlo versus Harrison, too. What you mean? This year? You talking about 2020, the year of the coronavirus? Nobody's put on cards this year.
There were 3 months of boxing before the coronavirus.
Okay, so you judging a whole year off of 3 months. That's not fair.
I mean,
I would never want to
put out one good boxing card, bro. Not one.
Not one good boxing. I guess,
not
man.
In 2020. Name one. Name it. I'm listening.
I don't remember any boxing cards this year because it's been fucking coronavirus most of the year. So,
well, we got Troy Graham here. What's
I don't think they do.
My only
how you doing?
Would be
well, I can say when it comes to the
more active. That's it.
Yeah.
And work.
Yeah, when it comes to the when it comes to the PBC, when it comes to the PBC cards, they're usually good. They're not great. I watched a couple of them on TV. Right? They've been good, but they've rarely have you been great. I mean, Spence. When he was talking about Spence and not Spence. I'm sorry, Thurman and Pacquiao was a good fight. And then I might be wrong about this, but back in the day with Menzor and Cunningham, that was PBC. That was a few years back. Was that
and
was that a PBC card?
I can't. I think it would have been.
That sounds like that sounds like a PBC card.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a few good cards, but rarely has it been great. So their standards are just good for right now. They're not great, and it always surprises me that their fighters, the top fighters, whether it be the Charlos, Russell, you name them, they can't seem to get big fights made for some reason. And all these cats will tell you that, you know, we actually own a promotion company. So how come you can't get the fights made? What's the holdup with that? Because when Crawford was at 147, Spence told him to move up. So he moved up and he said, okay, go ahead and get a belt. He got a belt. Then it was, well, you know, you across the street. There is no street to cross. There is no, that was started with them. There's no street for anybody to cross.
And the
Hagler.
Another thing with them, a complaint I would have is they give you a lot of fights on like basic cable. Those fights, like he's saying, they're good cards. There's nothing, you know, it's boxing. You get to watch some fights for sure. But when they even have like a fight that you're kind of not 100%, but most of the time, if it's like a fight that you're eager to see, it's pay-per-view.
No, that's not true at all. Come on, man.
It is.
You're telling me?
Be honest.
You're telling me
pay-per-view.
Only the only fights they have that's worth watching are pay-per-view. That's not true at all, man.
What was a big?
I agree. I agree with him when it comes to the PBC. Most of the fights that you want to see with the PBC never get made. Joshua.
I'll say this. I'll say this. One good fight they had last year on free TV was the Julian Williams Jarrett Hurd fight. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a great fight. Actually, I love that fight.
Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing?
Yeah, Hurd is from Maryland.
What's up, champ?
Yeah, what's up, BT? Thunderdome. Man, I remember you from way back in the Kovalev days when he was on the come up.
Oh yeah,
one of the OG channels on YouTube.
I remember them days.
Good to hear from you, man. Hey, what are we talking about? PBC and the pay-per-view stuff, right?
Man, they're saying the only PBC cards worth watching were on pay-per-view, which it's hard for me to agree with that.
I'll say half of those pay-per-view fights aren't even worth watching.
The pay-per-view fights were actually some of the worst cards they put on. It's like the opposite, to be honest.
Like Spence,
big fights like Spence broke, Spence Porter, Thurman, Pacquiao obviously, Thurman Garcia.
Spence Garcia was pretty trash. Not gonna lie.
Like Thurman Porter, that shouldn't have been pay-per-view. Honestly, it just shouldn't have. Like
I'm saying, you didn't like Porter versus Ugas? You don't like Laura versus Hurd?
That was a good fight. But wasn't Laura versus Hurd a Showtime fight? That was PBC, but it was Showtime though.
I mean, if it ain't pay-per-view, it ain't pay-per-view. I don't think it matters if it's Showtime or Fox.
I mean, it does kind of
Brotherhood.
If you're selling the idea of free boxing and you're putting fights on closed circuit television, then people are still having to pay extra money to get those channels. So it's not necessarily free boxing.
Well, every single promoter is putting boxing on the apps. Showtime has an app. DAZN has an app. ESPN Plus has an app. So I don't know the difference.
Though, Brotherhood. The difference is you can get all ESPN pay-per-views and ESPN and DAZN for less than you can get all the Fox pay-per-views.
Yeah, and ESPN and DAZN and Top Rank, they're not selling you the idea of free boxing for all. PBC came out the box saying it's free boxing for all.
When there's no such thing, they just don't.
Well, DAZN is selling you the idea of killing pay-per-view when they're
right.
I hope they
go ahead.
Pay-per-view. No, I was gonna. Well, yeah, you know what I'm saying is that if the fights were that good, we'd be having a conversation about the fights and not the cards and the stations and different this and that. We'd solely be focusing on the fights, which prove that the fights are really not that good. And that actually goes across the board. You can't really say PBC. Very few people are putting on great fights anymore because it seems to me that very few people know how to sell fights. And then it always comes down to this one wants this one wants that. Great. The fighter gets the money and then the fans get what? They get a shovel and they tell us to go find a grave to dig in because you're not going to be happy with what you get. Right?
I agree with that.
Yeah, I could vibe with that. Manuel Char. Who's Manuel Char?
Hello, my brother. It's me, Manuel Char from Germany. How are you?
What's up, Nathan?
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Hello,
Can't
everybody.
complain.
Hello, Thunderdome Boxing. How are you?
How you doing, brother?
Hello. Are you right, mate?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good, mate. Yeah.
Glad to hear.
I've just jumped in. What were you guys discussing? Because I wasn't listening earlier. I've just jumped in.
Okay, we had a guy on here. He just left as you were talking, but we had a guy at the Brotherhood who was upset at us because we stated that he said that me and Anthony are only saying negative things about PBC, and he said that PBC's been getting everybody free boxing. So how can we hate on free boxing? That's what he was saying.
Let me just say this real quick. The reality. Hold on. Let me just say one thing. The reality is, we all say good things and bad things about every promotional outfit.
Everyone.
It's inescapable. No one does everything good and no one does everything bad. But certain those him and his little cronies, they only seem to remember you saying one thing. Like, there's good and bad with every promotional outfit. It's just the way it is. No one's saying only bad things about anybody.
I
agree.
Yeah, I just think that fight fans on a whole today are very sensitive. This word, you're a hater, and hate is entirely overused. You know that? It has really no place in the conversation when you're talking about sports, because you don't hate anybody for playing a sport. You might have a disagreement, right?
Yeah.
But how could you hate somebody that you don't know?
And isn't talking smack like one of the best parts about sports?
It's part of the business. It's part of the business.
It's what we do as men.
Or
the thing about
bro, wait a minute. I didn't say that you only talk about PBC in a bad light. I'm saying I clearly said that.
Well, no,
I didn't hear you.
I shouldn't basically say anything bad about them because they give me free boxing. That's what you came in.
No, I didn't say that either.
Okay,
stop putting words in my mouth.
Okay.
The thing is, they don't give you free boxing, though.
I heard exactly what I said, but you want to
all
twist
the
it for some
ESPN
reason.
pay-per-views.
I said you. It sounds like you don't have. I said you seem like you don't have much good to say about PBC. I didn't say only PBC anything.
Well,
okay.
Are you LDBC?
I just don't think.
What I said is you seem to only remember the bad and don't remember the good that people say, though.
Deserve that.
I just don't think he didn't hear us say anything good about PBC when we were talking. So maybe that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. He didn't hear us say anything good about PBC at that time.
Go look at my channel, my whole history. Just said great things about it. Said some bad too, but that goes for everybody.
Right, let's get to the bottom line. PBC played people like Amir Khan way over what they were. That's what PBC were doing. I mean, they were paying fighters well over what they were, and they're giving us good fights. What's wrong? How can you criticize the fights? You know, you can't.
You can't criticize.
Really, no, I'm saying is you can't criticize Al Heyman too much. You know, PBC have done okay. They've run out of good fights to put on there, haven't they? You know, that's the only criticism I'd have of them, is that they don't work with the promoters too much. That's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest criticism, but that goes to every promoter as well.
Well, I have a question for the Brotherhood. Why does it seem that the PBC can never get the big fights made? Like, say, Crawford and Spence. How about Wilder and Joshua? Is it that they're just not initiated and enjoy chaos and not giving the fans what they want? I asked this question for you.
Oh,
hey,
I do this. Go ahead, man.
That was you?
It was.
Yeah.
I'm like, who the fuck is talking?
Oh my god.
That was Bane, man. That was Bane.
That was good.
What the fuck is wrong with that Brotherhood, guys? Are you on fucking drugs? You can't criticize PBC, man. Can't do it.
I'll say this though, like when they say the PBC is bringing free boxing, no. Like you could get all the ESPN pay-per-views they did last year at DAZN cheaper than you can get all the PBC fights because they put on like a bunch of pay-per-views. And the pay-per-views they put on, most of them were garbage, man. Like Broner Pacquiao, that shit sucked. What else did they have? You know, Spence Mikey, that sucked. Wilder Ortiz 2, possibly one of the worst pay-per-views. I mean, look, I'll pay for pay-per-views if it's Pacquiao Thurman, Spence Porter. I'll pay for those, but you know, Ortiz, Wilder 2.
Wait,
no.
Did you say Thurman versus Pacquiao sucked?
No, I said that was one of the good ones.
The undercard was pretty bad, though. I'm not gonna lie. Do you remember the undercard?
Yeah, the undercard that was bad.
Pacquiao versus Broner sucked.
Yeah,
right?
Pacquiao Broner sucked.
Pacquiao Broner was the last pay-per-view fight I ever purchased.
Like when you're putting on so many pay-per-views, you ain't bringing free boxing, man. That ain't your goal. That's not your goal. Your goal is to use Fox and the large audience they have to market your pay-per-views.
Like the problem I have with a lot of their pay-per-views is it'll be like the number 3 guy versus the number 5 guy is the main event. Porter Thurman even. Like if they weren't neither one of them was the top guy in the division. They're not like a Pacquiao or a Floyd demanding pay-per-views. How was that fight even?
Come on, man.
Well, that fight
Thurman was the top guy in the division.
No, he wasn't.
That fight actually wasn't even. That was on CBS. That was on local TV. Yeah, it was on CBS.
That tier of fight, like I don't know, pay-per-view to me should that should be a kind of rare. You know, like
yeah, I agree. Pay-per-view should be reserved for like the Canelo Triple G or Wilder Fury or something like that. You know, it shouldn't be around for some, and that's why I like ESPN because last year we got Vosdik Beterbiev. I mean, that's a great unification fight, and we got that on free TV, which is what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wouldn't. That was a great fight. You're right, but I wouldn't have liked to see that as pay-per-view.
Yeah, no.
Troy, I see you thinking over there, Troy. What you thinking, man?
I think boxing's just lost its way because everybody's so focused on getting a big fight, which takes big money, right? Whereas back in the day, you had Tuesday night fights, you had Friday night fights, and you got to see fighters on their way up, right?
Yeah,
I can remember seeing Tua on his way up, and then he fought. Then they had the night of the heavyweights with Tua, Ruiz, Shannon Briggs, and Tua took out Ruiz in 19 seconds.
Yeah, just
19 seconds, right? I think be honest with you, that's what the sport is missing because boxing, more so than any other sport, they have to connect to the fans. Right? Because, people tie themselves to boxers because there's no team. So, you tie yourself to that boxer. If you're a fan of Spence, you're a fan of XYZ boxer, you are a fan of that boxer. But the thing is that no one is telling stories anymore. No one is being allowed to show who they really are. There's a lot of talking, but there's nothing really being said. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's nothing for the fans to grab onto.
Right, because a lot of people were born into the darkness. But go on.
Teams, they got their fan base.
I just feel like playing the name. Go ahead.
Teams get their fans based on a city, but an individual sport, you have to have something to connect to. Well, you don't have to, but that's what helps them get to that next level is when the fans connect to them in some way.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's hard for me to criticize PBC because they've been giving you that. They giving these fighters hometown fight. What the fuck is J-Rock and Hurd getting hometown fights for? They getting their life stories told before they get these hometown fights. They are connecting you with the fighters. I feel like they're doing the best job when it comes to any promotional company or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on that. Just because you're fighting in your hometown, they don't really tell any backstories a lot of time, brother. They just
I
they
just
might be
told
fighting
you
in
they
their
did.
hometown.
They did, bro. They did. They did exactly that. You don't remember J-Rock getting his life story told before that fight went on? You don't remember her getting the same thing and all of these other fighters? The Banana getting his
I think
training camp show.
Like when they tell a guy's story like before the card in like a little 5-minute thingy,
that's what I mean.
That ain't the same as what he's talking about. Is like, kind of, giving you like even a 24/7 when they used to do like 4 episodes over a month. That was one way to get hella people brought into their lives. But like when he's talking about like different weeks, like Tuesday night fights, there was Wednesday night fights, Friday night fights, and Saturdays even. When you get to see all these different guys, and then every time they're giving you little bits of info, you might see them on other sports shows being interviewed and talking, to where it wasn't even just boxing. You'd see them kind of outside the ring, talking about whatever, and then you'd be like, "Oh, that guy seems real personable," or "That's a crazy story about him."
Yeah. But you know why they don't do that? It's because these shitty fans don't appreciate it. When you do get a fight on Thursday night, Demetrius Andre versus Killer, these motherfuckers are making fun of the fact that it's on Thursday night.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was
weekend. Go ahead, Nathan.
Brotherhood. How much does Al Heyman pay you, mate, to suck Deontay Wilder's dick, mate? Because that's what you sound like. You sound like a little bitch, mate. Seriously, shut up.
Bro, what the hell are you talking about, bro? I just literally got talking done talking about the DAZN fighter. Chill.
Nathan, come on, Nathan. You're going a bit too far, man.
Sorry.
Bro, I gotta be an Al Heyman dick sucker because I like PBC's content.
Yo,
that's not right.
Everybody has their own preferences. I'll tell you this, brother. One thing I think PBC does do good, and I've said this in the past, but if you didn't hear me say with Thunderdome, I think probably the best thing they do is the whole inside PBC thing. I think that program is really good when they have the guys come in the studio and they show the different sides of them that way. That's probably the best piece of programming they do at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, brother, every promotional outfit gets shitted on though, because no one's fans of promoters.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing. Like, don't dare shit on this promoter. Like, if it's a fighter, that's one thing. But no one fanboys for any promoters. Like,
that's the state of YouTube boxing these days.
I don't know about that, bro.
That like YouTube boxing these days, you just have fanboys of specific promoters. Like the LVBC exactly. That's the and New Media, they're fanboys of the PBC.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care what anyone says. They're fanboys of the PBC. They always shit on DAZN. They always, shit on ESPN. They big up the PBC. It's just so weird to me, but
yeah, really weird.
I mean, whatever,
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
I think the best example of what I was trying to say to y'all was Saturday afternoon fights back in the day, back in the late '80s, early '90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you got to see the Sugar Rays, the Simon Browns, the Mark Brelands coming up, and they had real good fights. Mark Breland, right? He talks with that soft voice.
Yeah, real soft.
If you go watch the fight with him and Aaron Superman Davis, you'll see why he talks like that. Aaron shattered his nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he talked like that. But it was a great fight because I'm from the Bronx. Aaron's from the Bronx. Mark is from Brooklyn. So it was a fight against the boroughs, right? And Mark was a champion at the time, right? Aaron was undefeated. And he was getting beat. Mark actually turned his eye. He closed his eye and turned it into like an apple, man. His eye was just huge, and he really should have stopped the fight. But he caught him with that punch. Simon Brown, Tyrone Trice was on air. Was a lot of good fights that were on air. Chavez was on there a lot. Julian Jackson, Terry Norris. But you always heard their backstory for about 25 minutes or 20 minutes. They would talk to the main event fighter, and they had a small screen with the actual other little fights going on, right?
Yeah,
you got the fighter that was the main card, where Julian was the puncher, Terry Norris was the speedster and the mover, right? Julian froze him up and just took him out in the second round. Took him out nice, just nice in the second round. But you don't see that a lot no more. What's the brother name? Brotherhood was saying that they give you that on PBC. They give you
Julian
spots.
Williams.
Huh?
He mentioned Julian Williams.
Yeah. He's still in here. Okay, like giving someone like a spot is not like having a conversation. Like, you see how we're having a conversation right now, brother? I don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about me. You could tell me things about yourself in spots, but it's not an actual story. And I know I went long-winded, so I hope that made sense.
Well, I think that's more up to the fighters nowadays, because you got Instagram, you got all of these platforms where you can connect with the fans nowadays. So maybe we just got a lot of lazy boxers nowadays.
Yeah, I tell you what I learned coming up. When you have too much, you actually do too little. Right?
Yeah,
when you have less, they kind of like if you had a bunch of money right now, if you were like a multi-billionaire, you really wouldn't want to be doing anything right now. You want to chill. But if you had $10,000 in the bank, you'd be working your ass off, right? You see the difference?
Yeah. When it's available to you, you like it's always there, so I can do it anytime I feel like it. I guess that's what you mean.
I couldn't hear you over the ice cream truck, brother. You parked by my house.
It's even though I agree that fighters definitely need to take full advantage of social media. They have to in this generation. But it's hard for them to even still gain any traction with fans if they're not able to still then see them fighting. And they're going to have to fight like someone else that they know. Or whether you want to call it clout chasing or whatever, they might have to use their name, someone else's names on social media to call out people.
And they do.
And for sure they do, and they kind of probably should. But if we're not getting to see them in the ring, it's still going to be hard to gravitate to it. And you still got to be able to deliver in the ring. Not winning every fight or anything like that, obviously, but at least be the good.
Our house, the damn ice cream truck making me want to buy ice cream.
Yeah, but I feel like today's fans are putting more energy into going out of their way to hate on these fighters rather than getting to know lesser known fighters. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that every day.
I know what you mean. I'm not one of them, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, the truth is, you can't get to know the lesser known fighters unless you see them more often. Because fighters who are on the back end shouldn't be fighting once a year. They should be fighting. If you fight on, let's say, a Friday, then 2 months from now, you fight on another Friday and keep going like that. I can't remember the brother's name from back in the mid-'90s. He drove himself to fights. I cannot remember his name, but he would. Say if he fought in Cleveland, right?
Look how Triple G built himself up a huge fan base just from fighting 4 times a year. Like that's where his fan base came from, because he was he'd be announcing his next fight at the post-fight presser. It kept people. Triple G.
Oh yeah. Okay.
As soon as you got to watch his fight, you instantly could go online and see footage for the next training camp, and there's already promotion for the next fight. So for like 2 years there, he was like front and center with being promoted. And these younger guys, they could do it, easy 6 fights a year as long as they're not cut or something like that. There's no reason that they couldn't. But I guess they need the outlets.
It boils down to that money, baby.
Yeah.
That's all it boils down to. If you listen to Wu-Tang, they got a song called Cream. That's what it all boils down to.
You get the money.
Yeah, a lot of these cats are not going to take chances like that because they feel they might hurt themselves with a loss. Where, to be honest with you, a loss is not a death sentence. I'll give you a perfect example. Freddie Pendleton. I don't know if y'all remember him. He knocked out Roger Mayweather.
Yeah, right there.
Okay? He had about 15, 16 losses when he knocked out Roger. But the thing is that Freddie started all over again. He fought the top 15, top 10, then the top 5. Then he got a fight with Roger, and he just kept going. He kept going. You know.
Yeah, me and BT were just talking about that earlier. With fans need to get out of the mindset of a loss is like is devastating to a fighter's value. Like if a fighter loses, oh well. If they lost to a good fighter, who cares? Like someone got to lose. You know, we shouldn't. Like now, it's like if you don't have so many fighters, the moment they get that first L, half their fucking fan base leaves them.
Exactly. They disown them.
And that's where these fighters get scared to take these so-called risky fights, because they're like, if I just lose, if I don't have this huge payday to fall back on, and I happen to lose, I'm screwed.
Yeah, fighters are scared shitless to lose these days. I mean, I've had fighters tell me themselves, like, yo, if I lose, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And like one fighter told me one time, he signed a Top Rank, and he said, yeah, Top Rank told me if I lose this fight, they're gonna make me an opponent the rest of my career, and I'm with him.
That's terrible.
That's terrible.
You shouldn't have signed the contract.
He probably shouldn't have did that, but hey, that's what he told me.
No, man, these fans just got to be better, bro. We can all agree that the fans can do better. The fans are ruining the fans are ruining the sport, and they don't know how important they are. I feel like they don't know.
Yeah, that's like great point. Great point.
Tell me this. How do you ruin something that you have no power over?
Well,
they do have power. They got all the power. Yep. They just don't know they do.
Look, let's use
me again how the fans are because all the fights they see, they're not getting made. So if you have all this power, which you're correct, they do. How are they not using it? Because you can't say that they're ruining the sport, and then you turn right around and you can't get the big fights made. Because wouldn't the fans be getting the big fights made?
It's like, look, whenever let's use Gary. I'll use an example to do this. Gary Russell, when he was going in to fight Loma, undefeated, had all the fans. So many people were behind him. He loses to what's now considered one of the best fighters in the world, and a lot of people even had him ranked that high. Not as one, but really high back then. And it was a close fight, still a good fight, and he lost. Half his fans left him. It's like. And that can go for a lot of these guys who have zeros and then lose their first fight and stuff like that. Now we have the power. All the fans have the power and really should use it. And when a fighter they like loses, they shouldn't throw him to the curb. Now, obviously, we don't all do that, but way too many of us do. These guys would be willing to risk a dangerous fight a lot more for a lot less money, which would make the fights easier to be made if they weren't worried about their payday for the next fight if they happen to lose this one, which is why they like fucking retirement money to take a tough fight.
Well, the truth is, if you lost half your fans, that means you still have half your fans, and you can still fight. No one is putting chains on your legs and telling you can't fight. There was a fighter down here in Maryland. He lived on the Eastern Shore. He was a Latino brother, and I can't remember his name. He was dark-skinned like me. He fought. He had an arena down here. It wasn't his, but that's where he did most of his fights, and they were broadcast on Showtime. And he made at least $200, a quarter of a mil every fight, and he was local. You want to know why? Because he had a Latino fan base. He was right here. He started losing once he started stepping up, but they still were there. They said so. It's not. Fans don't have that type of power, because if they did, we would have been got Crawford, Spence. We would have had Wilder, Joshua, so on, etc., etc.
No, we don't get them fights because people look. For example, Danny Garcia loses to Keith Thurman and goddamn Sean Porter. So them are not two people to be embarrassed about losing to, but the fans nowadays will make you look like shit for losing to them, whether they were close fights or not. Now somebody like Terrence Crawford, Terrence Crawford, will fight way lesser competition than Thurman and Porter, but the fans are more happy to see him fight these lower level guys and stay undefeated rather than boost a guy like Danny Garcia up. It's backwards. It's ass backwards. They don't realize they're working against themselves. That means when they're happy with that type of shit, then Crawford's going to be happy fighting that level of fighter. He's just going to keep doing it over and over because he knows y'all are happy with it.
I'm so glad you said that Crawford is fighting lesser competition. Let me break down his competition to you. The first fight he had at welterweight was an undefeated champion. He stopped him. Second fight he had was the #1 contender, undefeated. He stopped him.
What are you talking about?
No, let me finish. Khan was just a name builder, and then whoever came next was it Crab? How you say his name? Crab. He's actually a very tough fight, and he beat and he stopped him. So in all reality, Crawford is the one fighting the tougher competition, not the boys on
Oh my God!
Tell me, well, that's actually a debate.
Let him finish. I want you to name Errol Spence's last 4 opponents. Go ahead.
You want me to name them?
Tick, 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 baby. You.
Who was talking about Errol Spence?
You said Crawford is fighting lesser opponents, which means that everybody else is fighting better opponents. I just threw Spence's name out there. And Danny. Okay, well, name Danny's last 4.
The point you're making has nothing to do with the point I was making. That's why I don't get it.
But you said the man was fighting lesser opponents. Lesser opponents than whom?
Well,
then I just said it clearly, bro. Danny Garcia lost to 2 top opponents in the welterweight division.
Hold on, you guys are getting mixed up. What Troy is asking you is, do you think Spence has fought the better competition in his last 4 or 5 fights than Terrence Crawford?
And I'm asking, where the hell did Spence come from in the conversation?
You said that he's fighting lesser opponents and the fans are accepting it. So I'm trying to figure out who's fighting better opposition besides Porter.
What you said was Spence fighting lesser competition and keeping his 0 lets Terrence Crawford then feel that he can also fight lesser competition as well to keep that 0.
Lesser competition. Lesser competition is he
and I was comparing him to Danny Garcia, so I don't understand where Spence came into the conversation. That's where you lost me.
Good. Okay, good. But what lesser competition? You said he's fighting lesser competition.
Has anyone Terrence Crawford fought at welterweight been on the level of Keith Thurman and Sean Porter? It's simple as that, bro. And that was regarding Danny Garcia. That's a fucking capital N-O.
But at the same time, if they're not fighting him, what's he supposed to do? He fights the next level of tough competition.
You don't get what I'm saying. You don't get what I'm saying. Danny Garcia is being punished for fighting that level of competition. That's what I'm saying. He's being punished.
He punished
Danny Garcia by the fans. Who else are we talking about?
I don't
think Danny's an example for that.
Don't stop him from signing a contract to fight Crawford for $3 million.
Why would you sign that contract when lower competition is? That's what I'm saying. He's being punished. You want to pay him $3 million for losing to that level of competition, but pay Khan, who's been getting knocked all over the fucking place,
behind them.
If you want to pay him $7 million, so if Danny Garcia ain't being punished for that, then what is it?
City behind him. You understand?
No, I don't understand you at all.
Well, I get what brother would say now.
He's from the UK. Where's Danny's fan base?
New York City and Philadelphia.
Yeah, the biggest market in America.
Big in New York. Trust me.
Nobody obviously wanted to see Khan because the pay-per-view didn't sell. Numbers don't lie.
Okay, you know what? And the same could go for Danny Garcia because he's sitting on his ass, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't go for him because if you would have actually paid him what he was worth, then you would have sold the pay-per-view.
$3 million, brother. You win, and then you move on and get more money. I mean, I mean, because you saying A, and then you saying
No,
Z.
you
And then
don't understand what I'm saying, bro. You should get rewarded if you only lost to that level of competition. First, you should be happy that these guys risked their O and ended up losing to that level of competition rather than rewarding Khan.
Here, I definitely agree with him. Danny has, first of all, for Crawford to be able to get a name like Danny Garcia on his resume, someone who is as proven as Danny Garcia, that alone, in my opinion, he contract deserves him
just that
paid fat.
You gotta I want to chime in.
The points you guys both making.
Yeah, explain it to him because I can't, man. I did the best I can.
I wanted to chime in on the Brotherhood's point about Danny Garcia. I don't think people are sliding Danny Garcia because of him losing to Thurman and Porter. I think that all started when he fought Rod Salka and he got what many people deemed as a gift against Herrera, and then Porter and Thurman was backing off that.
Though, I think in this specific instance, he's talking about the amount of money that the promoters were willing to pay Danny Garcia because he had just lost to those two guys who nothing shameful in losing to.
Dillian White, what do you think?
Dillian
White, what do you think?
Oh, my brothers, I think I agree with my brother Troy. This brother knows his shit, bro. He does. I agree with Troy. And this Brotherhood boy, I think he's been smoking some bad crack, to be honest.
Hey, y'all some hostile motherfuckers, man. I don't know what's all that's necessary.
Start with me, my brother. You don't start with me, brother. I'll put you in your place.
Hey, look, check this out. Terrence Crawford himself says a Sean Porter fight doesn't make sense because he just lost to Errol fucking Spence. Perfect example. He's being punished. He's being punished for losing to somebody in a fight that everybody wanted to see. You get punished for stepping up. That's why these people are getting so comfortable fighting bum after bum and keeping their O. You can't argue with me on this.
Name the bums that he's fighting at 147.
Bro, all of the people he fought at 147 don't compare to Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. As simple as that.
But does it make them
okay, man. All right, they're not bums. I'm sorry for using that word. They're lower level competition. Like I said,
competition weak and trash. How are they weak and trash if they all are champions? They have O's. They never.
Guess what? Look. This is my point.
I think we can. This is my point. That they're lower level than Porter and Thurman, right?
Right. But if he can't get them, who's he supposed to fight?
That's my point, bro. You're sitting here proving that you're happy with that level of competition that Crawford is facing. So don't be mad when Crawford doesn't step up to the guys that I just said that lost to higher level competition.
Okay, listen.
You proving it.
Okay, listen. When it comes to the PBC, there's always the same sing-along. The fighters.
Oh my God.
Move up.
It's the PBC. It's PBC now.
Let me finish, please. They'll say to so and so, move up. Fine, the person moves up. Then they'll say, okay, fine, get a belt. Okay, that person gets a belt. Then what happens? This is the same routine that Spence said to Crawford. Same routine that Tank, who's from Baltimore like me, said to what's the brother from Philly? Help me out. Farmer. He said it to Farmer, and they never fought. So. It's the fans have no control over making or not making fights. It's the fighters. Fighters fight. It's every fight, whether it be Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, they took short money for the long term. Each and every one of them did.
It's the way you react to these fights, man. Look, Keith Thurman loses to Manny Pacquiao when people are writing him off as if his career is over. You can't tell me that's not true. Now Thurman has every reason to not fight somebody on Pacquiao level because he getting wrote off for having one loss versus a legendary fighter, bro. You can't tell me that's not true. People saying his career over, he's a fat man and all of this crazy shit, man. Y'all gotta appreciate these fights more. That's my point.
Listen to me, right? Wilder. I'm not going to the past no more. Let's focus on Wilder. If Wilder comes back passes out Fury, then he comes back and he actually does the right thing and fights Dillian White and stops him. His career is now back on track. Okay? You can't. It's you all that are saying his career is over now, the glove, the XYZ, this and that. But if he comes back and he wins those 2 fights, guess what? He's right back where he started from. No fan has the power to say, we're going to stop you from fighting. Because if the fan had the power to say, we're going to stop you from fighting, then the fans can say, we're going to get this fight made. No.
Bro, fighters have feelings too, bro. If you discouraging them for doing what you say you want them to do, then they're not going to be so willing to do it next time around. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Wilder just lost to Fury, and people writing him off saying his career is over.
Oh my God! How do you discourage?
You kind of agree.
Stop fighting. How do you discourage a grown man to stop fighting? Because how do you do that?
What are you talking about? The amount of money they'll earn in their next fight or two, whatever, and the level of competition they might get to fight in their next fights is what he's talking about. These fighters are scared that if they lose, they're going to be written off by a portion of the fans, and it's true.
Yeah, I don't see how you can disagree with that, bro. It's right there in your face.
Afraid of losing. He wants that fight. I go back a few years again with a Menzor.
We're not talking
Menzor
physically scared, not like physically afraid though to get into the ring with somebody. They'll do that.
And I'm
not gym. They don't care.
I'm just about losing.
No, it's more along. It's more like the money end is what he's talking about with the fighters, and all the fighters are
100%.
Money and respect, bro. You are getting disrespected for doing exactly what you're supposed to do, which is fight the best, the fights that the fans want to see.
That's what I'm telling you. That has nothing to do with fights not getting made. The fan has no control over that.
Yes, it does. The fans buy the fight. Who buys the fights? The fans.
Okay, well, tell me this: if the fans have control to do one thing, how come they don't have control to do the other thing, which is get the big fights made? Help me out.
All right, guess what? If the same fans we're talking about actually bought Crawford versus Khan, then his next fight would have actually been a big fight. But they didn't, did they? So the fans do have power, as much as you want to deny that. Man.
Since the fans have so much power, can't the fans just say, we want Spence Crawford, and the fight gets made?
No, the point is, you gotta respect these fighters, man. When they put that shit on the line, and you're not getting respect for you're not getting respect for that nowadays, bro. It's not that hard. I'm not saying anything crazy.
I don't know how long you've been watching boxing. Fighters have always got criticized. Always. That's part of the business. You win some, you lose. Come back.
Brotherhood, I've got a question for you. It seems as you think you know everything about boxing. What British boxer put Muhammad Ali on his ass? I bet you don't even know the answer to that, do you? You don't know fuck all about boxing, brother.
Bro, you ain't no need to be disrespectful.
Well, tell me, then I ask you a question. Do you know the answer? Yes or no? Simple.
No, I don't.
British heavyweight put Muhammad Ali on his ass? You don't know, do you?
No,
you don't know boxing.
I'm not a historian. I'm not 40 years old and 50 years old like you either.
Excuse me?
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you speak. No, the guy.
I'm not obligated to know that shit.
You don't know boxing. That's why you don't know what you're talking about. So
I know what I'm talking about, bro. So me and Thunder don't know.
I can tell you don't. I can tell.
Bro, but you can't refute my point. You're talking about some whole other shit, but you can't refute my point.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just prove the point. Getting crazy. Brotherhood's not saying anything that's like outlandish.
Exactly.
No, he's not saying it's outlandish.
Specific points.
Okay, that's fair enough.
You guys are kind of Troy. You're making good points too. That's like you guys aren't far off. I think you kind of agree. Honestly,
here's the disconnect. Here's the disconnect with brother and someone like myself. I am 40. Actually, I'll be 50 next year. You said you're not a historian and this, that, and the third. You don't need to be a damn historian with Google. You could go there and read on your own time and learn. You can't say that you love a sport or you're really involved in a sport if you know nothing about the history of sport and where you came from. Because if you are doing that, then you're simply just as casual that you talk about. And there's a lot. That's why these podcasts, 99.9% of them are like that. These cats don't know the past of the sport. They don't have a passion for it. Like you hear the passion in my voice because I have a passion for it. I have studied it since I was 15 years old. I have boxed and all that, but I had to stop. But if you don't have a passion for something, how could you possibly be a fan of it? All you then become is someone who's...
Muhammad, I remember watching Larry Holmes fight. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
How did we get here from the conversation we started? I don't understand.
I don't know how we got here, but it was Henry. It was Cooper, by the way. It was Henry Cooper he was talking about.
Okay. Yes, I'll drop it. Okay, I'll drop it. No problem. Carry on with what we were discussing.
Yeah, I just sound like y'all want to find a reason to disrespect me just because I made a point.
I'm not disrespecting you. I'm
shutting up now. I'm shutting up, okay? I'm being quiet. Carry on.
I'm not disrespecting you. I'm simply saying like this. Okay, here's an analogy for you, right? You fall in love with this beautiful queen and you all want to get married, but you know nothing about her past, but you still marry her. How do you say you love someone but you don't know where they come from and you don't know how they really work? All you see is the surface of them. You see beauty, you see the booty, you see nothing else.
Please tell me what that has to do with the fans disrespecting the fighters for stepping up to elite level. Please tell me what that has to do with anything I was talking about.
I'm simply telling you, brother, in the simplest form, that if you don't know where something started and how it was, how could you speak about how it is? That is my point.
I'm sitting here watching how it is. That's what the fuck are you talking about? We're in this day and age. Now y'all just went back 40, 50 years because you didn't want to hear what I'm talking about in this day and age. Y'all are making no damn sense. I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about no goddamn 40 years ago.
Like you. They think you'll be scrapped. You wonder why people don't like you. You don't listen to what people say. That's your problem.
What the fuck does that got to do with anything I said?
With the boxing, you don't know what. I give up with you. I'm not going to bother anymore. Just carry on talking, whatever you're talking about. Okay, get on with it.
The fans of today, the fans in general of today, they definitely hold. They definitely put more value in zeros. We know that. They do. You know. That's. I don't know if that'll go away. That's probably the main thing that fans need to understand. That losses are a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But it doesn't mean like a fighter is no longer what you thought he was. Like these guys think that these fighters are like supposed to be Superman and just never lose. The moment you lose, it's like, oh, we lost. That means someone can beat them. Like everyone can be beat.
The fighters are human beings. If you punch them in the face, they're gonna bleed. You know, like they're gonna feel pain. Like, so I think there is a responsibility. I think fans should stop condemning fighters so much for a loss. But then I also think that fans should also be as well read up on the sport as possible, no matter how old they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but sorry to interrupt you, but I remember you did a video, brother, talking about Deontay Wilder and his loss, and you scathed him. I haven't forgotten that. I saw that video. I'm not going to bring it, bro. But you said when a fighter lost, and you were very scathing. You know.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. But anyway, we sitting here talking about the post Floyd Mayweather era specifically. That's what y'all don't seem to understand. That's when the fucking losses. That's when the fans start disrespecting fighters more often for stepping up and taking a loss, no matter who they lose to. That's what I'm talking about. When you lose to
fans who you mean fans who don't know the sport.
No, I'm not, bro.
No.
Fans who don't know the sport.
Yeah, but they still
have power.
Sport though, they still spend money.
You haven't explained it to me.
I'm not going to keep explaining the same point.
Explain it. Listen to me, man. I'm not dense, dumb, or anything like that. If I say you haven't explained something, it's very simple. You have not explained it to me. Explain how they could take away. You said the fans could take away something from the fighter, but at the
Okay.
same time add anything to a fighter.
Okay, I got you.
Explain
I
how
got
it-
you. I got you. I got you. Okay, if nobody shows up to a fight, all of the seats are empty. Nobody turns the shit on TV. Nobody purchases a pay-per-view. Let's see how great that fight goes and see how willing the promoters are, ready to put on the next fight versus two elite fighters if it ended up being that way. Let's see how much power the fans have if the shit ended up like that. Since you say the fans have no power, let's see if that happened, how shit would turn out.
You're talking about nothing good. Because you're talking about if and maybes, man, because the truth is, right, if I was gay, I would be sitting down. Right?
Bro.
Oh my God.
Bro,
You
what
know,
you
I'm
saying
just
don't
trying to-
make no sense, man.
Basically, you talking about ifs and maybes. You're not talking about nothing solid and concrete.
No, I'm giving you example after example. You just don't want to hear me. I told you these fans didn't show up to Crawford versus Khan. They didn't buy the pay-per-view. So they're not gonna be.
And showed up? Zero.
You don't make no damn sense, bro. I'm good, man. Like I said, I haven't said anything crazy. Y'all want to make it. Y'all done went back 40, 30 years to Muhammad Ali.
I need
What
you
up,
to
BT?
action, man, and stop bringing up my. Listen, I need you to.
Y'all didn't fucking disrespecting me for it. Y'all didn't just say every. But
finish my point because you.
y'all done did everything but stick to the point I'm making. The fans.
Shut up.
The sport is nothing without the fans. Period.
For Crawford and Khan, right? Zero people. Right? Are you telling me that?
What did you say?
You said zero people bought the pay-per-view for Khan and Crawford, and zero people showed up to the arena, right?
Thunderdome.
No, I'm saying the pay-per-view was a failure. I'm saying the pay-per-view was a failure.
Pay-per-views fail. It happens. It happens to Floyd Mayweather too.
And who has the power to tell me who has the power to make them fail or succeed? Tell me who.
You know who has that power? The people who, number one, the people who put the fights together, and the fans who choose to pay their money. But
the fans. Can you repeat that? The fans, right? Repeat yourself. The fans. Yeah. Now we getting somewhere.
Mic check. What are y'all arguing about, fool?
Nothing really.
You said
Dude, these
You
dudes
like PBC,
these guys
he
don't
or
want
whatever.
to. No, that's not the point here. It seems like they want to make that the point, but I'm sitting here telling these guys that the fans have more power over the sport than they want to admit, and they want to argue with me and disrespect me for making that point for some reason.
This guy, please.
Can I?
Okay.
Go ahead, Kane. Or Boogie. You got
Yeah, fool.
Oh, shit, Boogie. What's up?
Everybody in the panel, Brotherhood, Troy Graham, Thunderdome, my brother. Hey, good to see you back.
Same to you.
And Mr. Dillian White.
Brother.
Hey, greetings and salutations. I just want to say it like this. I understand the point of view that the young man is talking about. I'm talking about Brotherhood. I understand his view about what he's saying about the fans. I understand that. I understand the other guy, Mr. Troy Graham and Mr. Dillian White. I'm pretty much saying this because out of a middle, just listening in the background and listening to everybody has a valid point. You know, I don't disrespect Brotherhood for what he's saying about the fans, which is actually it's partly true, and it's also true what Mr. Graham said, because he said it's the promoters and the fans, but you can't just put it in one narrative. It's both of y'all are, and like I'm going back what Thunderdome said, y'all both are making the same points, but it's probably in a different metaphor, okay? And I understand both y'all points, which to me, as a bipartisan person right now in this conversation, I understand both your points, and it's valid. And that's all I had to say.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And this is look, and this is coming from a 51-year-old man. So
well, hallelujah. I'm 49. Hallelujah.
God bless you, brother.
All right. Well, let me ask the brother.
Congratulations to both y'all old asses. Congratulations to both you old motherfuckers.
Hey, one day you young man's gonna be that age too.
I hope so.
Thunderdome boxing. We should change the show to the LDBC. The way these guys are talking, I'm telling you, it's man. Please say something. I know you hate the LDBC guys. I know you do.
What are you bringing up LDBC for?
Yeah, really.
What's the point? Because it's two black dudes. What's the point?
He has no point, man.
Let's talk boxing.
Okay, good.
Troy Graham.
Actually,
Troy, let me ask Troy a question. Fall back.
Brother, ask me a question. Go ahead.
It seems like you like Crawford over Spence, which is cool, right?
No. Okay, but keep going.
Okay, but I just at 147, Spence has done more. Overall, Crawford undisputed, hands down. Can't argue that. Moving up, beating guys, can't argue that. But at 147, Spence is looking like the stronger candidate. And I don't understand why people try to bring up like old fights and compare to old fights because there's no comparison. If Spence has fought Sean Porter, he's better than anyone Crawford has faced at 147. Like Jeff Horn, he wasn't even supposed to have that belt, but they gave it to him. And we cool with that. That's fine. You know, we thought Pacquiao was over. But whoever fought him for that belt was going to win that belt. You can name any top contender at that time, they were going to beat Jeff Horn. Credit to Crawford for stopping all of these guys, but he was supposed to.
Easy fight.
Huh?
How come the Spences and the Thurmans and Danny Garcias didn't fight Horn since he was such an easy fight?
Because Arum owned him.
Because Bob Arum, top rank, got the belt. That's why they took it from Pacquiao, because he was getting ready to leave top rank. We all know this.
Hey, listen to me. There's a dude named Don King, and Don King hated Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron hated him, and those two worked together. So I don't want to hear that. But go ahead.
No. What I'm saying is
the only color that matters.
Crawford was going to get that crack, yeah, for sure. But Terrence Crawford was going to get the first crack at that because he was with Bob Arum. Like, let's not play games here.
Not if he got outbid, he wasn't.
Who's going to outbid Bob Arum? Bob Arum is the GOAT.
Arum wanted to keep that belt in his stable. He wanted to give it to Crawford so Crawford would have a belt and leverage for future fights with guys like Thurman.
Of course. That point that Troy just made is like, that's a slash. Like, you just lost that one, Troy.
Yeah,
cool, man.
And look, that goes back to the original point I was making.
All I'm saying is this, right? You all are saying that
Crawford. You all, me, not you all, me right now.
I'm talking you two were saying that Crawford fight is a lesser competition, but I'm trying to figure out what lesser competition did he fight.
All right,
look. Can I say this, please?
I just named his last four fights.
Let me say this, please, man. He's so stuck on the fact that I said Crawford's fighting lesser competition that he forgot the original point I made. I said Crawford is okay with fighting lesser competition because look, you can look at Danny Garcia who fought better. Can I finish? You can look.
No, because I don't think Crawford is okay with that. We all know he's not okay with that.
Can I make the point, man? Danny Garcia is getting backlash for fighting Thurman and Porter and losing close fights to them, and while Crawford is sitting next to him fighting lesser competition and getting more praise than Danny Garcia would ever get for even stepping in the ring with higher level competition. That's what's ruining the sport. That was my original point, but he's stuck on the fact that I said Crawford is fighting lower level competition and he just ran with that. You lost the whole fucking point.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The thing is, what now again, this
Lower
in here, the Terrence, he would like to fight other competition, but the guy who owns the contract isn't necessarily giving him the options either. And Heyman isn't
want to pay nobody
the options either. We don't really know which promoters like more at fault than the other for keeping, Crawford and Thurman or Crawford from Spence away from each other. We just really don't. Honestly, we can't even lie and say we do.
I can say this much, right?
It switches. It depends on who has what belt and everything else.
I'm not a fan, but he has a history of making big fights. It don't matter who he is. Heyman does not have a history of making big fights, does he?
That's your call.
Heyman made the biggest fight. Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Who?
Huh?
Dude, this dude just out to get Heyman.
The biggest fight was Mayweather and Pacquiao.
That was 5 years. That was the worst fight ever.
What Troy meant was like that. One example, but he's talking about like history of many times doing this. But again, he has.
Bro, when I first got in here, I said he's the GOAT. Like, we know that. We're not talking about promoters here.
I know. I hear you.
But guess what people say when it comes to Crawford fighting Danny Garcia? Well, why should he fight Danny Garcia? He lost to Thurman and Porter. He doesn't have a belt. He doesn't. You know what I'm saying? They punishing you for giving you what we want.
Look, here's the thing, fellas. We all know that fighters, you become the hunted when you get the belts. We know this. You know what I'm saying? And you become the money man from a certain standpoint. We know this. So if honestly speaking, if I'm Crawford right now and the PBC offers me any fight, I'm going to look at them and say, why are y'all offering me any fight unless it's against Pacquiao or Spence? Why would you guys come over here? Why would we do business just for Sean Porter? What am I getting out of that?
Why wouldn't you?
What I'm saying? You beat a good opponent and everything, but what I'm saying is for these two guys to do business together because they feel like they don't want to do business unless it's big and huge. Why would you bring Sean Porter or Ugas or Mikey or Danny Garcia to me? Bring me a belt. And I'm not mad at
foremost. Right? If I'm offered that Garcia, I'm taking it. If I'm offered Porter, I'm taking it, and I'm gonna do my best to knock them both out because neither one of them are easy, and neither one of them have really ever been stopped, right? So
I think Crawford will do that. I think he will, but you're not understanding what point I'm making. Of course, I would take the fight just to whoop some ass and get a name under my belt at 147, which he desperately needs. That you don't want to admit that, but bring me Spence or Pacquiao. And he already said he don't want to fight Spence next straight off because Spence is coming back. He want to get credit for that. So if he can't give me Pacquiao, then why are we talking to the PBC if I'm
what the promoters need to do, especially like a Heyman and Aaron, is instead of just worrying on like the right big money for this one fight, they should make like a group deal between them two for like multiple fighters in different divisions, like a kind of a 5-fight deal or something between the two. 3 fights.
Too many parties involved, but that would be great.
Yeah, I know. They can sit it down and figure it out somehow. I'm sure they can. That might get.
It sucks. I feel for Crawford, man. I feel for Crawford.
Yeah, that
he can't
risk a guy that he might not want to risk, and then Heyman could also risk a guy he might not, or Aaron might not want to risk a guy in another fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Risk reward equal for both sides.
Because people act like
rewarded.
What's that?
That's true, but people act like Fury versus Wilder was like the icebreaker. No, that was the big money, man. Of course they were going to make that fight, and it was a rematch, so it was just easier to make. It was already in the contract. It just so happened that he signed with Top Rank after the first fight.
You want to know the truth about Fury Wilder? That was Wilder, he was chosen for Wilder because he was the biggest, safest name they could find.
Exactly.
And that is and it went wrong for him.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. They thought Fury was going to be a bit easier than he was.
I don't know, because I think Fury's the best. I think Fury's better than all the other heavyweights, so I can't really agree with that.
What does it say about a man?
I agree with that also, but I think that
you know what I'm saying.
Wilder's yeah, for sure. I think Wilder's team though was thinking, all that time off, he's not going to come back. They were just thinking he might, kind of be a shell of himself, not completely a shell of himself.
What does it say about the heavyweight division if a man can put on 10 stone, take loads of cocaine, and come back and still beat the best guy? It doesn't say much, does it, really? It's kind of
It says he probably took the cocaine to hide something else. He probably took the cocaine to hide something else. He took the cocaine to hide something else.
About Fury?
Or Fury's a good boxer. What do you mean? That's what it means. He's a good boxer.
But he comes back and he beats you, the best your country can produce, the best heavyweight your country can produce. And we got a guy from Britain who's put on 10 stone and can do that to your best guy.
Congratulations, he's from Britain. I hope you get a win out of that somehow personally. But
okay, mate. Thank you.
Good for you, mate.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, you're great, pal. Yeah,
good for you, mate.
And he did the same thing to Klitschko. He did the same thing to Klitschko, man. I don't understand why people
Tyson Fury.
You keep bringing your American heavyweights over, we'll keep beating your heavyweights. Simple as that.
I ain't said shit about no heavyweight the whole time I'll be on here.
These UK dudes on here emotional as fuck, boy. This like the third one to pop up talking shit like that.
Okay, brother, you say something, man. You talk a lot
it's
of shit.
all good. We're gonna talk shit and swallow spit. It's alive. What you mean? It's alive.
Crawford's clearly the best fighter. You can see it.
Based on what?
Well, he is.
Based on what?
Errol Spence didn't look great against Porter, did he? Come on, he looked ordinary against Porter. Porter made him look ordinary. It's as simple as that.
Right. So
if
there's no chance that Crawford.
Then what's he going to do to Crawford? Come on, get real. Seriously.
Porter, who hasn't Porter made look ordinary though? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Huh?
That's the question. Who hasn't Porter had a tough fight against? Who hasn't he made look ordinary? That's your fault. That's your fault for thinking Spence was the next Mayweather.
Who
Crawford is.
It's Mayweather.
Crawford could be the next Mayweather, but not Spence. No.
Yo, stop.
Spence
There's not going to be another Mayweather. Stop it.
Oh,
let's not do that. We love Crawford, but stop.
Thank God for that. Boxing is not going to stop. Boxing is not going to miss him. He do nothing for the sport. He ain't going to be missed. He did a lot for himself.
Who's not going to be missed? Floyd? Bro.
Yes.
See, like, listen, I hate to, I don't like caping for people, but anytime Floyd does anything, boxing says, "Hey, Floyd, you coming back?" Like, come on, bro. Let's stop the bullshit.
He'll put a training video.
Yeah,
is he gonna fight Canelo next?
Right, and then you got like guy like, how can you say like boxing don't miss him when boxing like wants him back every month, every day, every week? Like, stop that. If you don't like Mayweather, cool. But come on.
Nobody missed. Dude was dry.
You're the only one that wants him back, mate. You're the only one that wants him back.
People want him to come back, lose, but they want him back.
Want him back for what? Was he exciting to watch? Was he fan friendly? Why?
If you like boxing, it's hard not to like Floyd. But if you're a casual, it's easy to say it's not a lot in it. But
as a boxer, he's great. As a person, he's that's all I can say.
Bro, we don't know none of these boxers personally. Maybe BT does because he gets to see them, talk to them. But other than that,
I know a couple.
Cut it out. Right.
That's the attitude that's ruining boxing. Y'all don't fucking respect any fighter. Y'all don't respect any fighter, even Floyd.
Attitude and
as a boxer, as a person.
I used to be, I guess, what you can consider a Floyd hater at one point. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of Floyd, but as time has gone on, I've really grown to appreciate the guy.
He makes it easy, but you gotta appreciate it.
It was an exceptional talent. Listen, when you pick up the gloves and you try to do some of the shit he did in the ring, then you start to appreciate it a bit more. You go to the gym and try to pull counter.
Right.
Yeah, but he's not as good as
It's
Sugar
all
Ray
the
Robinson.
little nuances.
He's not as good as Sugar Ray Robinson.
Man, I ain't
Who
see
cares,
him.
man?
You
That ain't
probably
his
didn't even
era.
see him.
You know what? All I can say is that he's not the definition of boxing. He's very talented, and I hope he just stays retired. Mike Tyson put out a 5-second clip of him just having a good time, and now everybody's interested in Mike Tyson. What you have with Tyson is simply a man who's just doing what he wants to do. He's happy now, and that 5-second clip that's gaining more attention than anything Floyd has done in years. Anything.
Because Floyd Tyson was a character.
Oh, that's not true, bro.
Y'all crazy, man. I'm about to jump off of here, Brendan. Appreciate it, man.
And come back anytime. I know it's been hostile, but come back anytime.